thing. In today's world, we are witnessing a quiet exodus, men walking away from relationships not out of pride, but out of pain thing. Many people misinterpret this as men becoming cold or detached, but in truth, they are simply exhausted from being misunderstood. For decades, men have been told to man up, to suppress emotions, to always provide, to never complain. Yet, the same society that demands strength from them criticizes that very strength when it shows up in relationships. We cannot call a man emotionally unavailable if we have never created a space for him to be emotionally open. Modern relationships are collapsing under the weight of unspoken expectations. Love has become conditional. I'll love you if you make this much, if you provide that lifestyle, if you do what I expect. The problem is, men can sense when they are being loved for their utility rather than their humanity. And when a man realizes that his presence is valued only when he performs, he slowly disappears emotionally long before he walks away physically. True connection requires emotional safety. When a man feels judged, criticized, or constantly compared, he begins to retreat into silence. Women often misread this silence as indifference, but it's actually self-protection. It's him saying, I can't win here. Another painful truth is that masculinity has been misinterpreted. We call men controlling when they try to lead, arrogant when they show confidence, and toxic when they express dominance. But healthy masculinity is not oppression, it is direction. A man's need to lead and protect is not a flaw, it's part of his biological and psychological design. When that is constantly invalidated, he no longer feels like a man in the relationship, he feels redundant. Men today are not walking away because they are cold or heartless. They are walking away because they are emotionally starving. The world has misunderstood men for far too long, labeling them as emotionally unavailable when, in truth, they have been emotionally deprived. From a young age, boys are taught to suppress their feelings. They are told that vulnerability is weakness, that tears are unmanly, and that silence equals strength. As they grow, this conditioning doesn't disappear. It evolves into a quiet, invisible wound that follows them into adulthood, friendships, and eventually relationships. When these men enter relationships, they are already carrying years of emotional neglect, not from others alone, but from a society that never allowed them to feel. In the beginning, many men open up with hope. They believe that love will finally offer the emotional space they were denied growing up. They hope for a partner who will listen, not fix, who will understand, not judge. But what happens too often is that their emotional expression is either minimized or criticized. When a man tries to explain how he feels and the response he gets is impatience or mockery, he learns that even in love, his emotions have no home. Gradually, he stops sharing, not because he doesn't feel, but because he has learned that feeling has no reward. This is how emotional starvation begins, not through lack of love, but through lack of emotional safety. When women say men don't communicate, they are missing a deeper truth. Men communicate differently, often through actions rather than words. A man fixing something, helping quietly, or simply showing up when you need him is his way of saying, I care. But when those gestures go unnoticed or are taken for granted, he begins to feel invisible. For a man, being emotionally unseen is the same as being unloved. He may not express it in tears or arguments. He may just go silent. This silence is not emptiness, it's defense. It's his way of protecting the little self-worth he has left in the relationship. The emotional starvation men experience doesn't mean they don't crave intimacy. They crave it deeply, but they don't know how to ask for it anymore. Many women assume that because men are quiet or distracted, they don't have emotional needs. Yet the truth is that a man's need to be appreciated, respected, something, and emotionally understood is just as strong as a woman's need to be loved and cherished. When a man feels that no matter what he does, it's never enough, when his efforts are constantly met with criticism or comparison, he begins to detach. Detachment is his form of self-preservation. He walks away internally long before he ever leaves physically. This emotional void is further widened by the cultural narrative that paints men as emotionally incapable. Men are told to be strong, but strength without softness becomes isolation. They are told to provide, but providing without being appreciated turns into emptiness. They are told to protect, but when their protection is mocked as control, they lose the purpose that gives their love meaning. The modern man is torn between the expectation to be emotionally expressive and the reality that when he is, he's often dismissed. That confusion creates emotional exhaustion, a silent fatigue that makes walking away feel like the only way to breathe again. It's important to understand that emotional starvation doesn't come from lack of love. It comes from lack of emotional nourishment. Love alone isn't enough. For a relationship to thrive, a man needs to feel that his emotions are valued, that his quiet moments are not weakness, and that his need for peace isn't selfishness. When a man feels emotionally safe, his natural instinct is to protect and to give. But when that safety disappears, his instinct shifts from giving to guarding. He guards his heart, his words, his presence, and eventually his energy. That's when we see him become distant, less expressive, and less involved. Not because he stopped caring, but because he's trying to survive emotionally. Men don't crave drama or constant questioning. They crave calmness, consistency, and understanding. A woman who listens without judgment, who doesn't weaponize his vulnerability, can transform a man's emotional landscape. Men rarely express how much emotional safety means to them because they've never been taught that it's okay to ask for it. But when they find it, they blossom. Their love deepens, their patience expands, and their confidence grows. Emotional starvation turns into emotional security when they are finally seen and respected for their humanity, not their performance. Unfortunately, in many modern relationships, this emotional security has been replaced by ego battles and power dynamics. Love becomes conditional. A man feels loved only when he meets expectations, when he performs, or when he provides. His emotional worth becomes tied to his productivity. When that happens, love stops feeling like love. It feels like pressure. The more pressure he feels, the more he disconnects. And when that disconnect grows, walking away becomes his only form of freedom. So when men leave, it's rarely because they don't care. It's because they've run out of emotional oxygen. They've given, tolerated, explained, and tried to prove themselves. But when all of that is met with emotional indifference, leaving becomes a quiet act of self-respect. Men don't walk away because they are afraid of commitment. They walk away because they are tired of feeling unseen inside commitment. They are not emotionally unavailable, they are emotionally empty. They are not avoiding love, they are avoiding pain disguised as love. Understanding this changes everything. If we begin to see men not as unfeeling beings but as emotionally neglected ones, we can begin to rebuild connection from compassion instead of criticism. A man's heart, just like a woman's, needs to be nurtured, appreciated, and valued. When he feels emotionally full, he will give endlessly. But when he feels emotionally starved, he will eventually walk away, not to escape love, but to find peace. Because in the end, peace is what every emotionally starving man is truly searching for, even if he never finds the words to say it. The modern relationship has shifted from being a space of mutual growth to a place of silent transactions. What once was about building something meaningful together has now become about measuring what one receives in return. Love, which should be an exchange of emotional energy, has turned into a negotiation of conditions thing. I'll give you attention if you give me validation. I'll stay if you meet my expectations. This subtle shift from unconditional to conditional love is the reason many relationships are falling apart thing. Men today are increasingly walking away not because they fear love, but because they no longer feel it. They feel used, not valued, measured, not appreciated. And the tragedy is that most of them don't even know how to express that pain. They just silently fade away thing. A man doesn't enter a relationship wanting to be transactional. He doesn't fall in love with a checklist in hand. When he commits thing, he genuinely wants to give, to build, to protect, and to grow. But somewhere along the line thing, he begins to sense that his value in the relationship is tied to what he can provide rather than who he is. His love becomes an obligation thing, and his worth becomes a calculation. When a man feels that his presence alone isn't enough thing, he begins to carry an invisible weight, the constant pressure to perform emotionally, financially, and socially thing. It's a pressure that doesn't inspire love, it drains it thing. Many women today have unconsciously absorbed the belief that love must always come with standards and demands thing. Standards are healthy when they promote respect, stability, and growth. But when standards become unattainable or rooted in comparison thing, they transform into conditions. For example, when a woman measures her man's worth against what she sees on social media, another man's car thing, lifestyle, or gestures, she unknowingly communicates that love is earned through status, not through connection thing. The man feels that no matter what he does, it will never be enough. He begins to associate love with exhaustion, not comfort thing. When love turns transactional, men stop feeling emotionally safe. They begin to analyze every word and action thing, wondering if they are being loved or evaluated. This kills authenticity thing. He starts hiding his vulnerabilities because he fears that showing them will lower his perceived value thing. He stops sharing his insecurities because he doesn't want to appear less than. He may still stay in the relationship, but internally he is distant. The emotional bridge that once connected two souls slowly collapses under the weight of silent expectations thing. One of the most painful things for a man is realizing that he's being loved conditionally. Conditional love whispers thing. You're only good as long as you provide. It never says you're enough. Over time, that message eats away at his sense of self thing. He starts questioning his purpose in the relationship. He begins to wonder if his partner loves him for who he truly is or just for the role he plays thing. This confusion often leads to quiet resentment. Men rarely verbalize it, but you can see it in their eyes when they stop trying, stop communicating thing, and stop showing up emotionally. There's also a societal shift that has amplified this issue thing. Many relationships have become more like partnerships based on benefits rather than emotional bonds thing. People talk about high-value men and high-value women as if human connection is a marketplace thing. This language conditions people to think in terms of what they can get, not what they can give. Men, being naturally providers thing, already have the instinct to give thing. But when giving becomes the only thing expected of them, without emotional reciprocity, they start to feel drained thing. Love becomes a job they didn't sign up for thing. Transactional relationships are often disguised as equal relationships, but equality isn't about splitting bills. It's about shared emotional responsibility thing. It's about both people feeling valued beyond what they bring to the table. When only one person's needs are prioritized, the balance collapses thing. Men feel this imbalance deeply. They might not always articulate it, but they sense when love turns into performance thing. When every gesture they make is analyzed, compared, or criticized, they lose the joy of giving. And when giving no longer brings joy thing, love begins to wither. The saddest part is that many women don't realize that they, too, are unhappy in transactional relationships. Conditional love doesn't just drain men, it drains women too. It creates anxiety, insecurity, and constant dissatisfaction. Both partners start competing instead of connecting. The man feels he's never enough, and the woman feels she's never fully satisfied. The relationship becomes a tug of war rather than a dance. Both are trying to win, but neither is feeling loved. For love to return to its natural healing state, both partners must unlearn the transactional mindset. A relationship should not be about, what can I get? But what can we build together? When love becomes unconditional again, men naturally re-engage. They start giving more not because they are expected to, but because they feel inspired to. Men thrive in relationships where their efforts are seen and their presence is valued. A man who feels emotionally appreciated will work 10 times harder to make the relationship thrive. But a man who feels emotionally used will eventually walk away, not out of anger, but out of fatigue. Real love isn't a trade, it's a trust. It doesn't demand perfection, it celebrates effort. It doesn't count how much one gives, it cherishes how much one cares. When a man feels that his love is reciprocated, that his efforts are noticed, and that his flaws are accepted, he transforms. His energy changes, his commitment deepens, and his emotional availability increases. But when every act of love feels like a debt, he starts to see the relationship as a burden. Men are walking away not because they have changed, but because love has. They are walking away from the kind of love that feels conditional, performative, and exhausting. They crave connection, not competition, peace, not pressure, appreciation, not transaction. If relationships are to heal, we must return to the roots of genuine affection, where love is about contribution, not calculation. When both partners choose to love without conditions, men won't walk away, they'll walk closer. Because no man leaves a place where he feels valued, respected, and emotionally fulfilled.